Ladies, gentlemen, and barbarians of all ages, we're rapidly coming up on the beginning of Season 4 for Diablo 4, hitting just in a few days from now. And of course, one of the main things to think about, one of the main things that you can do before the season actually drops, is working out what class you're going to play and what build you want to play with it. Specifically, your leveling build up to at least World Tier 4, if not even beyond that. And of course, today I've got you covered when it comes to Barbarian with that thought process, with the predictive best leveling build based on everything that we know so far, which does include some pretty hefty, just extensive Barb playtime on the PTR that happened last month, and also just the information we know from then. Now, things have changed since then. Sure, Dust Devils will never get this big or obnoxious on live servers, so if you are afraid of how this looks to actually play and dodge attacks while playing, it won't look like this in the version of the game that you're playing. But this is the rare opportunity that I actually have relevant footage to a leveling build that I want to talk about before the season actually comes out. And so, yes, it is just Dust Devils. They've been buffed just a purely nasty amount and made more plentiful as well. More synergies worked in, and most importantly to the concept of a leveling build, even outside of the fact that just Dust Devil is looking to be the strongest Barb build this season long term, it will without a doubt be the strongest one to put together early, consistently, because the developers themselves said in a stream a few days ago that they have revisited the concept of rewards from the season journey, and one of their goals was to give each class a number of synergistic aspects that work together while leveling each season, essentially with the idea of giving you a strong cohesive build by the time that you hit further world tiers. And this season, the chosen build style for Barbarian is, well, Dust Devil, which means that you'll get a lot of the legendaries needed from this simply just from the fact that it's Season 4, which makes it super easy to put together. All that out of the way then, let's talk about how you actually want to start off your journey by going through your skill points one by one. Then we'll talk about your technique slot, of course, and then we'll go over the legendaries that you want to begin with, and just how exactly you want to evolve this as you level more and gain more resources and stability to make the build stronger. Without further ado then, to begin with, you will want a basic skill, though this actually doesn't need to be part of the laser versions of this build, where you would replace this with the final shout once you are just able to sustain yourself on your resources without having a basic skill. Generally though, you will go Lunging Strike to begin with, and you will also want to take Enhanced Lunging Strike as well as Battle Lunging Strike, which gives you bonus damage and healing against healthy enemies, then also for the bleed application so that we can just constantly have our bleed activation effects going active. Then we move on to our core skills, and here we're going to be picking up Double Swing. This is just mostly the best Dust Devil generating core skill, but also it is an effective core in early game, being relatively low cost but also decent damage. We also of course are going to be grabbing Enhanced Double Swing for bonus damage to stunned and downed enemies, and Violent Double Swing, which lets us constantly apply Vulnerable to enemies, which is something that Barbarian normally struggles with before getting the Exploit Paragon Glyph equipped, but it is a massive early damage boost, so it's great here. Moving on to the defensive node cluster, we're going to be picking up Rallying Cry for bonus fury generation and movement speed when activated, but also it is one of our shouts, and each shout also fires out tornadoes once you have the biggest legendary aspect for this build, Fierce Winds, the new one this season, which will be early in the season journey. You also of course want to take Enhanced Rallying Cry and then also Tactical Rallying Cry for generating more fury from this effect. You also want to grab passives here, including 3 ranks of Imposing Presence for bonus maximum life, 1 rank of Outburst just for a little bit of bonus thorns, but mostly as a gateway to 1 rank of Tough as Nails, which makes all of your thorns damage apply bleed, further activating our bleed procs without us even needing to hit the enemy now. From here you have a choice to make that can shift through your leveling journey. If you want defensive power, survivability, you want to go Challenging Shout, pick up Enhanced Challenging Shout for bonus maximum life while active, and then Tactical Challenging Shout for bonus fury generation while this is active too whenever you take damage. If you are instead feeling fine with your survivability and want more damage instead, you can then switch this out and take Warcry, the third shout, and then take Enhanced Warcry as well for berserking activation, and then also Power Warcry for further bonus damage when you activate the skill if there are enough enemies near you. Then you want to pick up Leap over here for our movement skill. This is better for pure movement than charges now in Season 4 because they nerfed the cooldown reduction, and that's the purpose that we want it for, mainly just the actual movement, and then it actually lets us synergize into Earthquakes later on in our journey if we really want to too, which is one of the legendary aspects I recommend long term for this. You also of course want to take its enhancement, which does reduce its cooldown if you don't hit an enemy, but also you want to take Power Leap, which gives you a bunch of fury if it does hit an enemy, which is sort of lovely. Then we pick up some passives. You want 3 ranks in Swiftness over here for pure movement speed, which is basically what we want this for. Movement speed is great for leveling, it speeds up your travel, which speeds up a lot of the parts of leveling, and that makes it faster. Then you unlock ultimate skills because of that, so we're going to be picking up Wrath of the Berserker down here, which just increases your damage while berserk, to put it simply, and you also want to grab both of its enhancements as well. It increases your fury generation, your movement speed, and you also get further damage bonuses the more fury that you spend while it's active, which does stay active until you lose Berserk. So this is just a really good, strong, long-lasting, nearly permanent buff in a lot of builds. Then we move back up and we round back to actually double swing over here and take the remaining 4 ranks in this so that it actually has a large chunk of damage on it now that we've activated all of our utility stuff to really boost it up. Then you want to put 3 ranks into aggressive resistance here, which gives you a nice pile of damage reduction while berserking. One of our goals is to just stay berserking as much as possible, so this is a really powerful bonus to get. And at that point, you will have unlocked your key passives, at which point you want to take Unconstrained. As mentioned, we do want to keep berserking active pretty much the whole time, which means that the bonus here of berserking, which increases its damage bonus by a ridiculous amount, is extremely effective. In the most case, if you're doing a core skill based build, it's actually somewhat interchangeable with Unbridled Rage. Unbridled Rage pulls out a little bit because there's a lot of ways that you can spend fury that makes it better in certain builds, but because this is a build that focuses around Dust Devils, which are not core skills, Unconstrained becomes significantly better as a result of that. After that, you want to head back up to these passives here, and we're going to be taking 3 ranks of Battle Fervor, which gives you berserking whenever you use a brawling skill for 3 seconds, and then 3 ranks of Prolific Fury, which gives you a bunch of extra fury generation while you are berserking as well. Then you want 3 ranks of Booming Voice for extra duration on your shout skills, which is of course quite good as we're focusing quite a bit on our shouts. Then you want to take 3 ranks of Pit Fighter over here for 9% increased damage to close enemies, but also some damage reduction from distant enemies, which just benefits us even further from the type of playstyle that we will generally be using with the build anyways. After that, you want to take 1 rank of Thick Skin, mostly just as a gateway to get 3 ranks of Counter Offensive for bonus damage when you have Fortify for over 50% of your maximum life. Then we have 8 points left, so to round this off, what we're going to do is take 3 points in Wallop, which increases your damage using bludgeoning weapons, which we will be aiming to do. You want to use maces as your one-handed weapon with this build whenever possible. Generally speaking, I would say while you're leveling, it's a bit harder to manage, so if the weapon's DPS is more than 10% higher than your best mace, you want to equip it. If you have a mace within that 10% sort of ballpark, then you want to be using the mace because of this skill and some other various effects. So you want 3 ranks of this, and then you also want to take 3 ranks of Concussion, which makes skills using bludgeoning weapons have up to a 30% stun chance on enemies, which is really good, and an even higher stun chance when you're using 2-handed bludgeoning weapons, which we will be using for our charge and also for our lunging strike. So then we have 2 points left, and to round this off, all we're going to do is put these into Leap. The main reason? It lowers your cooldown just a little bit on Leap, which makes you able to use your movement more often, which is just very convenient to be able to do. With that covered then, let's talk about your technique slot. The vast majority of your damage will be done with one-handed weapons, and you generally do want these to be maces, as I mentioned earlier. So then the main thing that we want to be able to use our technique slot for is increasing our damage, and the best thing that we can do for that is to use two-handed axe to increase our damage to vulnerable enemies across the board. Then finally, we're going to go over our legendaries and gear for this build. As per usual, you only get 3 legendary slots early on that don't need reliably changing, so we will only talk about 3 for this leveling build. The first being Fierce Winds, which should come in the Season Journey rewards. This makes your shouts fire out multiple Dust Devils, as well as increasing the size of your Dust Devils a pretty nice amount, and making your Dust Devils deal increased damage that scales with their increased size too on top of that. And this one you want on a ring slot with a low roll, but if you happen to get lucky enough to find a high roll aspect of this, you want it on an amulet to boost it a bit more. But the bonus isn't really worth having on amulet as a low roll. Otherwise, on the amulet, you'd prefer to have the Wind Lasher aspect in that slot, which has been changed a little bit, and now just makes your double swing launch out a powerful Dust Devil when you cast your double swing anytime that you cast it for even more Dust Devil goodness. And this will also likely be in the Season Journey. And then the third one that I recommend for your second ring slot is the aspect of Vocalized Empowerment. This gives you a decent amount of fury regeneration per second while a shout skill is active, so you can cycle between them for general resource gain increase, which is just really, it results in more damage and more consistency as well, especially as resource generation is sort of a sore spot of leveling for Barbarian normally. Then with that covered, we should talk about how to expand this further. I'll be doing a more advanced start of endgame type build video after the season starts, especially once we can actually see the changes in action and work around them properly with actual testing and stuff. But for now, as it stands, the best version of this build doesn't actually use any uniques, at least until you get to the point of having uber uniques, of course, because those are sort of broken, as they should be, because regular legendaries not only fit so well in this build to the point of having just a ton of synergies available, but even past that, the new gearing system gives legendaries advantages over uniques as far as the actual stats on the items, the affixes to begin with, and of course the cool part of this is it means that you aren't reliant on having a specific unique drop to make the build function, or to make it reach its peak. It can reach boss deleting quality in full legendary gear if your stats are good enough. The main thing to talk about here from there then is the tempering system, and logically from the information that we've been given, I would expect we will actually be given a low rarity version of the Dust Devil focused manual early in the season. Higher rarities increase the stat number of the effect, but the manual has two options: Dust Devil size increase and Dust Devil bonus projectile chance on spawn. Dust Devil size is your max priority tempering skill on weapons once you have Fierce Winds because of how that effect interacts, until you reach 100% bonus size, because that is the limit threshold for this stat in Season 4. Then the rest of your weapon temper slot should go to bonus projectile chance with this. This combo in itself is enough to destroy most of the game once set up properly, and you can do it pretty quickly this season, it looks like, as well. That just about does it for Now Then Everyone, just a basic starter leveling guide for Barbarian in Season 4 to get you going, with the developers specifically trying to give us earlier access this season for Dust Devil effects, and Dust Devil itself being buffed as much as it has. Barbarian should have a really nice, smooth leveling experience right from level 1 to 100 the whole way this season that will just be fun to experience, and this should be the way to do it. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.